So every year since I was in 5th grade, I have been making a reading log for myself. And basically what I do is I write down every single book I've read from January 1st to December 31st. Every year I set a goal for myself on January 1st and I try to hit that goal by the end of the year. Sorry for that lighting shift. My window is right here and it was just on like one side of my face and I was getting kind of washed out, so apologies. Anyway, so every year December becomes crunch time for me. I try to get in as many books as I possibly can before the new year. So this year I ended up reading 10 books in December. And when I say in December, I mean up until Christmas Day, because on Christmas Day we actually left to go visit family in Jamaica, so I was not reading after that. So that's kind of like a book every 2 days. But I do want to mention this year I read 30 books, so my goal was 50. I did not hit my goal, and there is a reason for that, which I will get into later in the video. That was on me, that was my bad, because I set the goal of 50 books and then I set all these other goals and then I like didn't think that it just wasn't gonna work, so whoops. But I did end up reading 30 books, which means that a third of my books for the entire year were read in 1 month. So okay, so before you say anything, I'm not gonna lie, I did give myself some easier books to read this month, but I still read them. I read every word on every page, so it counts. So the first 2 books I read this month are books that I've had for a very, very long time. I actually got them like 2 or 3 years ago, but it is I'm laughing because I already know in the comments people are gonna be like, those aren't real books. Okay, just let me live my life. Percy Jackson's Camp Half-Blood Confidential and the Magnus Chase 9 from the 9 Worlds. Before you start yelling at me, okay, I know they're companion novels and I know they're this big. I still read them and they still count, okay? They're books. I had to buy them. These were like $11 each. Did I pay $11 for 2 books that are this big to fuel my Rick Riordan obsession? Yes. Do I regret it? No. Am I tired of spending that much money on Rick Riordan books? Yes. Am I going to stop? No. If you don't know my obsession with Rick Riordan, I literally made a whole video talking about my obsession with Rick Riordan and how I've read every single thing he's ever written. And I just feel like at this point I've invested so much time in him, it'd be a waste not to just keep reading everything he's ever written. Also, he's my favorite author, so what are you gonna do? I don't really feel like these need an explanation. This one is basically Percy Jackson's guide to Camp Half-Blood. It's just like a tour of the camp in book form, which I don't know, I kind of vibe with. This one is just a collection of short stories. They're literally like 10 pages long each. It's every main character in the Magnus Chase series going on a mini adventure into one of the 9 worlds of the Norse mythology. This one is more like a series of novellas, even though I wouldn't call them novellas because they're literally 10 pages long. This one is more of a companion. Do you need to read either of these? No. Are they fun to read? Yes. Oh, I just spilled coffee on myself. I got new coffee yesterday. It's French vanilla. I never really have bought French vanilla coffee in my entire life. It smelled so good, so I got it. And now I've just spilled it all over myself. But at least I smell like vanilla. So if you couldn't tell from this bookshelf, pretty much every single one of these books is like booktuber bad taste cliche from 2013, 2014. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm embarrassed to have some of these books on the bookshelf. They're all books that I read when I was in like middle school, and I've just really not rearranged my shelf since I was like a freshman. So I decided this year is gonna be a big reread year for me, and I'm starting this series on my channel. I'm gonna be rereading old series and talking about like if they're bad or not, and just kind of reviewing them and seeing if they still hold up and that kind of stuff. So with that, yes, that tangent actually did have a purpose. The next 3 books that I have read during the month of December, we have the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. This was a reread, like I said. I really wanted to see if these were terrible or not, because I know everyone is like, oh my god, the Hunger Games, so cliche, dystopian girl fighting the government, rebellion, woo! I do have a video coming where I go in depth about the whole series and my opinions on it, but I will say these books held up. Let me tell you, my phone is buzzing. My phone is ringing. My youth advisor is calling me. Well, I can't talk to her right now. Anyway, these books did hold up and there were some things in it that just didn't. But I think my biggest defense of the Hunger Games books is that they kind of invented the cliche. So even though a lot of the aspects are cliche, honestly, because it was the first one, I think it gets a pass. If you're interested in seeing my in-depth review of The Hunger Games, you can go watch my other video. My overall review was that it was good. There were some parts that really weren't, but overall it was good. The world building was good. Keeping up with the reread trends for the month, we have another series, which let me just preface before I say what it is, that when I read this series in 7th grade, I read each book in a day and I was obsessed. My friend and I were obsessed with this series. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the characters, the plot. I could not tell you why we liked this book so much, but we were obsessed. We used to call each other by nicknames that were similar to the name of the main character. We used to draw pictures of it for each other. Even my old bio in my description, I don't do them now because like I'm lazy, but in my description box, if you look, there's like a whole 3-paragraph essay basically of me explaining who I am and what I do. And even in it, I talk about how much I love the main love interest in this series. And I reread it and oh my god, I wanted to throw the books across the room. And that is the Selection series by Kira Cass. Oh my gosh, I wrote an 11-page rant review about this that will be coming in another video. I knew I used to have bad taste, but like this is another level because I was obsessed with this book and I couldn't tell you why. This third one is literally a signed edition. It's signed. I have an autographed copy that I specifically bought. And I have 2 copies in hardcover of the companion novels that went with these books. These books are garbage. They have some redeemable qualities, but I don't understand why I like them so much. Anyway, I'll get into a full 11-page rant review of these books in another video. If you want to see me tear them apart, go watch that because I will be doing that. But anyway, I read through these 3 in December. So we've gone through 8 of the book I read this month, and the last, I'm gonna call it 2.5, have some stories associated with them, so we're gonna get into that now. So the last book that I read this year, Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare and all her little friends, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman. This book I rated a 3 stars on Goodreads, which I'm on Goodreads. Go friend me, go follow me. I have 0 followers. I know I'm so popular. I rated this a 3-star because it was fine. Did I think this book was necessary at all? No. I kind of only read it because someone got it for me as a gift. I think the whole trope of like training them at an academy is like stupid by now, and I kind of hate reading it. You know, Vampire Academy, Percy Jackson with the camp, it's like kind of an academy. Harry Potter. What else has an academy? Literally everything has a freaking academy. I'm just over it. There's like about 3 characters in this book that I enjoy, which would be George, the roommate who's Scottish, who I've been watching Love Island, the UK version, not the US version. I do not like the US version. I only watch the UK version, but because he's Scottish, in my head I'm just picturing Anton from Love Island. I like Marisol, the 15-year-old mundane girl who's ascending. I think she's got some spunk to her. I think her character is a little more, I'm not gonna say unique, but interesting. I don't like John Cartwright. Is that his name? I don't even know. The 2 friends, I feel like their characters don't make any sense. I didn't even talk about what this book was about. I apologize. This book is basically a series of novellas that is Simon after the events that took place at the end of City of Heavenly Fire, which I'm not gonna spoil for you. He's at the Shadowhunter Academy and it's his adventures and his friends. I love Simon. He's easily my favorite character in the original book. And when I say the original books, I mean like the Mortal Instruments, not the Infernal Devices, because you know I love Miss Tessa Gray, Mr. Will Herondale, and Mr. Jem Carstairs with all my heart. This, it's not necessary. I really don't like when Cassandra Clare writes with her buddies. She did the same thing for the Bane Chronicles, and I understand it might be easier. I understand her talking to them, bouncing ideas off of them, and wanting to give them credit, but you read this and it just doesn't feel... Okay. It just doesn't feel like her writing. It literally feels like fan fiction in the same way that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child felt like fan fiction. I liked the stories. Did I love them? No. The only ones I think I really enjoyed reading were talking about Robert Lightwood and Michael Wayland and how that kind of influenced how Robert treats Alec in the original books, because they talk about it but now we actually got to see it. Oh my god, what is that noise? I like the story with Jamie Herondale going to school, and I like the story with him as a little kid so solely because he plays with the spoon and I think it's really funny, but the rest of it I don't really care about. So before I get into my last book of the month, an honorable mention, which I feel like I have to bring up. I read a play this month, Proof by David Auburn. I did a scene from this in my master acting class at Station Manor, which is a theater training facility in New York. Finally decided I wanted to read the whole play and I really loved it. I do not vibe with math. I'm sorry if you do. I just really don't, and I never have and I never will. Am I good at math? Sure. Do I enjoy it in the slightest? No, it's confusing and I don't understand numbers and I don't like when things are super concrete. In my experience with math, I would like always get the right answer, but I would never get the answer the way you were supposed to. Like if you were supposed to go from like this point to this point, I would go like here. And then I would get the answer. I actually read about 6 plays this year, but I read this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, so we're at the final book of the month and of the year, and that book is a reread. It is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a special 50th anniversary copy. I do have another copy of the book way down there. Look at how pretty it is. It's so shiny. If you have never read Tolkien and punctuation, they don't love each other. My take on Tolkien is that I don't understand why the man cannot use a period in his writing. I can deal with no quotation marks. I read The Handmaid's Tale and there's really no quotation marks in there. I cannot work with no periods. If I don't know where your sentence starts and ends, I think there's a problem. I started reading this book on January 1st. And I finished it on December 24th. I spent the entire year reading this book. You're wondering, how did you do that and read other books? I would read a chapter here and then I'd read another book and I'd read a chapter there, a couple pages here and a couple pages there. I knew when I decided I wanted to reread it that it was going to take me a while. I did not realize how long it was going to take me. This book is the reason why I did not reach my goal of 50 books this year. Because in the amount of time it took me to read this book, I could have read at least 15 more books. I've already read The Hobbit, but I really hadn't read it since I was in 5th grade. Don't get me wrong, I love the story. I love Tolkien's world building. I think it's amazing. I recently read Beowulf. If you weren't aware, Beowulf really inspired The Hobbit. Basically, the last trial of Beowulf, if you don't know, Beowulf is split up into like 3 trials or 2 trials depending on how you look at it. The last trial of Beowulf is literally just The Hobbit. You can really see how much Beowulf inspired Tolkien to write Lord of the Rings, and in turn how much Lord of the Rings inspired other authors such as George R.R. Martin to write like Game of Thrones. But I read The Hobbit. Am I going to be rereading this anytime within the next 5-10 years? No, because it is a monster to get through. Did this put me off from rereading all the rest of the Lord of the Rings books? Yes, because I realized I want to hit all my reading goals for the year and I just cannot do that if I'm spending basically a total of 3 months reading one book that I could be using to read a lot more. But did I enjoy my reread? Yes. Did I enjoy revisiting the story? Yes. I love The Hobbit. I love the story. It's one I grew up with, so I really do like it. I'm gonna see if I can stack all these, and I'm probably gonna cry while doing it because it's definitely not gonna work and I'm gonna drop it. When I used to stack all the books together in my old videos and I would like hold them up, they would all fall, but like it was almost like a game for me to see how many times I could get them to fall because one already fell. I just knew that like that's what was gonna happen. So these are all the books I read in December of 2019. And I'm gonna turn it around so you like can't see the cover. So if I use it for a thumbnail, people will be like, oh my god, what did she read? I guess I have to watch the video so I can find out what the books were. I'll be like, ha ha ha. My overall experience reading 10 books in a month was pretty good. It was pretty chill for me. Like I said, December is always my catch-up month. I am a speed reader, so it's not a technique. I know it's supposed to be a learned technique. It's not something I ever learned. It's something I've always done. Basically, it's like instead of reading one word at a time, you end up just reading like a chunk of words at a time. Oh my god, I literally just spilled coffee all over myself again. Okay, so now that I've filmed about an hour's worth of footage, I get to spend all the rest of my day editing it, and then I'm gonna watch the Eagles game because we are in the playoffs. Woo! Go Birds! It really just keeps spilling this everywhere. Anyway, that is all for today. My name is Sarah. If you weren't aware, because I didn't really intro this video at all, leave me a comment with how many books you read in 2019, if you keep track of it, or like what your favorite book of 2019 was, or your favorite book of December was. Subscribe if you like this video, if you want to see more content from me. And then lastly, if you want to follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Goodreads, all those links will be below. Please follow my Twitter if you want updates on videos. I think I just said everything in this video 20 times. Okay, that's it for me today. Thank you so much. Goodbye. I hope you have a magical reading journey in 2020. My goal for 2020 I think is like 35 books, so I actually lowered it for myself because I did not read a lot of books this year. 30 books for me is not a lot, so hopefully next year will be better. Okay, goodbye.